What is up everyone? Recently I got the chance to battle against 31 of the best players in the world in a super stacked draft tournament called Arrohh Draft League. Some names you might recognize are Rise to the Occasion, Ilqm, FPSticks, and regional winners and runner-ups such as Vanny, Arrohh, Hot Pocket, HouseDark93, and more. Super stacked, joined just for fun. And I ended up going much further than I thought I would. To give you some insight on ADL, this is already the 6th season and it started a couple months ago when each of the 32 players was able to ban a Pokemon which no one could use for the rest of the tournament. Then we were divided into 4 different groups or divisions. Within each division a snake draft was held, which also included another ban round. So in the end everyone ended up with super unique teams and we started battling. Over the next 12 weeks we did a set of 3 against everyone in our division twice and everyone out of our division once. After these 12 weeks, the 12 players with the highest win rate would battle in a single elimination bracket until there's just one left standing. And that is where we are now. Since I was my division's top scorer, I got to skip round 1 of the playoffs and I'll be facing against the one and only FPSticks in round 2. Every single week of ADL was live streamed on Arroh's Twitch channel, by the way. That is where I got this amazing footage from. So if you want more high level draft battles, definitely go give Arrohh a follow. There's more to come. Alright, so FP is running a team of Snorlax, Surfetch, Bronzong, Dragonair, Castform, and Seeking versus my team of Shadow Machamp, Alolan Grimer, Samurott, Jirachi, Drifblim, and Lantern. And if you have a watchful eye, you might have noticed my team has changed a little bit. In my original draft, I had Dugong instead of Lantern, and that's where another part of ADL comes in that I haven't explained it yet. That's the free agency. Between every week of battling, you have the option of exchanging one of your Pokemon with another, given that your pick hasn't been picked up by anyone else yet. And I used that once this season to exchange Dugong for the Lantern that I have on my team now. Which for this match isn't that great. That just makes the Dragonair so much stronger. It's able to beat basically everything on my team besides the Jirachi. And the Jirachi is quite risky for me as I lose against Snorlax, Bronzong, and Sunny Castform. Still though, I have a pretty okay matchup here with Machamp and Grimer, both of which he has basically no answers to except for the Bronzong for the Machamp. I'll be on the right side of the screen here, leading Lantern into Dragonair in this first match. Absolutely terrible, so I gotta switch into my Grimer since it is so strong against his team. Really no hard answer, so he stays in for a little bit, throws a Body Slam, then switches into Snorlax. I'm gonna throw the Crunch right here, which will take a decent chunk of health away from the Snorlax. I'm really hoping I can get a shield in this matchup, because if I get a shield, my Drifblim is fine versus Dragonair, as I'd be able to hit an Icy Wind. With 2 shields, that matchup is quite bad, as Dragon Breath just really start to add up, and you don't really get to your Icy Winds as fast. So I'm really hoping he shields here, but unfortunately, Taylor makes an amazing move here. No shields to Snorlax. And yeah, now it's looking pretty bad, as that Dragonair can basically destroy almost all of my team. Still though, it's definitely not over. Drifblim can get to Icy Winds here and debuff the attack. And we basically have a full Lantern still as well, which can do work versus basically everything FP could have in the back. I'm gonna throw my first Icy Wind here, get a shield. I don't really want to take the next Aquatail, so actually I'm gonna attempt a catch here, but of course FP is not gonna let that happen. He switches out with the move into Bronzong. Definitely not ideal for Lantern, but this is not that bad of a matchup. I go for Thunderbolt here, thinking I'd need to hit a Thunderbolt and a Surf to knock out the Bronzong, but I'm actually not sure if that's true. I think I probably could have gone for triple Surf, and it would have been a little bit better, especially since he shielded that Thunderbolt, so that's quite bad. I end up going for another one right there. Again, I think maybe double Surf would have just been the way, but still it would have been quite rough, as that Dragonair of course still has energy, and I think he would have reached his Psy Shock either way. So yeah, I will hit this. Should I have? No, the Dragonair's a move. I thought maybe for a second, maybe I farm now with Drifblim there, get to the Icy Wind, but the Dragonair has a move of course, so it wouldn't have mattered at all as they win CMP, and yeah. So they just sweep my line. I think no matter what, just a very tough matchup right there. Very good call by FP in that game. This next game I bring them a Champ, as it is quite good versus the Snorlax and pretty decent versus the Dragonair as well. So overall solid versus previous line. Just struggles versus the Bronzong, which actually ends up switching into the Machamp, which is crazy. Definitely makes me think there's something just as good or stronger versus Machamp in the back, maybe Surfetch, maybe Castform. So I bring in my Grimer here, as it is a decent answer. Unfortunately, one crunch doesn't knock out, so I'm gonna have to hit another one. Luckily, I do barely get there. He lets it go, which is fine by me, because now I can get my Machamp realigned to the Dragonair, and I'm thinking whatever's in the back is probably weak against Drifblim, because the only thing that's strong against Drifblim that he still has left is like the Snorlax, and there's no way he would switch out of Dragonair into Machamp in the lead matchup if he has Snorlax in the back, because Dragonair really isn't that bad versus Machamp. As you can see, these Dragon Breaths are doing so much damage, so at this point I'm really not expecting the Snorlax, but as you can see on the left side of the screen, he does in fact have Snorlax, and he just completely five-headed me, made me believe it wasn't going to be Snorlax, but it definitely is Snorlax, and this is not looking too good for me. Drifblim is definitely not hopeless here, though. The charge moves, or the fast moves, of course, are super effective, but the charge moves really do nothing. And for me, it's the other way around. The fast moves do nothing, but the Icy Winds definitely add up. And the attack drop is quite nice as well. I'm going to shield up the first Body Slam. I'm really hoping that I can stall the clock enough here to where I can like somehow switch out into Machamp and maybe get to a move somehow. Like, the chance is very, very slim, of course, but maybe I somehow debuff the licks enough to where I can get to a Croc Shop. I don't know. Let's see. Bring in Machamp. I get licked down. Still make it very close though. And yeah, the Drifblim gets licked down to GG's. And I go down 0-2 versus FPSticks. But luckily, these are best of 5s, meaning that I can still beat FP if I win the next 3 matches in a row. Next game, I bring the Snorlax again, but I leave the Drifblim on the bench this time, as it has really done nothing for me. And I bring Samurott instead, because it's just so flexible. Samurott has been one of my MVPs this entire draft. Whenever I'm in doubt, I just bring Shadow Machamp and Samurott on the same team, no matter what my opponent's squad is, really. And their spam is just enough to conquer almost every squad, and I'm really hoping it'll do the same against FPSticks here. As in this game, I let my Machamp into the Snorlax, which was beautiful. We brought out the Dragonair, which I don't really have a great answer to, so I opt to stay in, take both shields. Now I have a Grimer with shield advantage, and Grimer with shield advantage can beat almost everything. I think FP at this point thinks that I have Drifblim in the back, so he's actually gonna bring in Bronzong, so he saves the Snorlax for my Drifblim, but he doesn't know I don't have Drifblim. He actually does end up switching out to Snorlax eventually though, probably trying to catch a crunch there. Pretty smart move, but didn't work out. I'm gonna bring in my Samurott. Honestly, maybe I should have thrown my crunch though, because that would have put the Snorlax into a range where the Hydro Cannon would have knocked out. Now I have to use a shield. I didn't have to use a shield. I could have still let Snorlax go, but what I'm hoping to do here is to force the Bronzong to throw his energy or allow me to go to the Hydro Cannon. That would be ideal. At this point, a crunch doesn't knock out, so I either need 2 crunches or a Hydro Cannon here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get the Hydro Cannon, but he did throw his energy, which probably means that I can now get to 2 crunches before he's able to get to another move to knock me out. First crunch coming through, brings the Bronzong deep into the red, and next crunch comes out right before he can get to the Psy Shock. GG's for this match. That's 1 win for me in the books, finally. Next match, I bring basically the same line, Machamp, Grimer, Corp, this time with Lantern in the back though, just because it's a little more bulky than Samurott. I'm gonna throw my Cross Shop here right on the CMP tie. He does shield that up, which is kind of unfortunate. We really like to get rid of this Dragonair, but that's fine. At this point, I'll just shield up their move as well. I should be able to win the 1 shield just by going for the Cross Shop immediately. I can overfarm here, but then I am almost dead, so there's pretty much no point. Just gonna throw the Cross Shop immediately. I have a little bit of health left so I can like do some counters on whatever comes in, which ends up being the Surfetch, which is kind of scary because Lantern doesn't want to see it with Leaf Blade, and I don't know what moveset he's running yet. In these battles, actually before each match, we were allowed to TM or Pokeball to whichever moveset we want for our opponent. So he could have been running anything on that Surfetch, but luckily it's not close combat or Brave Bird, it seems, as my Grimer shielded up the first Leaf Blade, and then I took the second one. And I still have enough health left to get to 2 crunches versus this Snorlax. Actually, I'm going for Slush Bomb because it does do more. Honestly, a shield was expected. I should not have done this, but I did it. yeah, I don't know why. Kind of dumb, honestly, but it didn't really matter, did it? I have a Lantern here. Even if this was an Earthquake Snorlax, I would survive, get to the Thunderbolt, and that should knock out the Snorlax. And then the Surfetch is so low that it really can't do anything. And I will manage to tie up this set 2-2, and we will go into a decisive game 5. This next game I bring Jirachi, because it's super strong against the Dragonair, which he's brought every single game, and Surfetch, which he brought in the last game. I don't think you'll expect it, since I haven't brought it yet, so I bring it in the lead with a Grimer Lantern in the back, but unfortunately I get caught with the hardest possible counter in the lead in the Bronzong. So I have to switch out into my hard counter Grimer. Out comes Dragonair. This is not amazing, but not too bad either, because I lured out the Dragonair. My Lantern won't have to see it anymore, which is great. Still, the Bronzong is going to be a huge issue, because it is a nice core breaker for that Jirachi Lantern combination I have left, but I think with the two of them, I should be able to chip down the Bronzong enough. Anyway, Taylor's actually going to let the second crunch go, so I can farm him down with the Grimer. That is pretty huge. Out comes Surfetch now. Not ideal, since he gets exactly enough energy for Night Slash now, which will do a ton of damage versus Jirachi. Just gonna let it go though, as Jirachi is not that useful versus the Bronzong. As you can see, Night Slash does a ton. He brings in the Bronzong. I respond with Lantern. This time I have learned from my mistakes in the first game, and I'm just gonna go for the Surfs. No reason to go for the Thunderbolts, as he does shoot up the first move. Then I'll just go for another Surf. Honestly, I wasn't too confident that after this Bulldoze, I could get to 2 more Surfs, but I had to no-shield it. I need to save shields for Jirachi, otherwise the Surfetch is just gonna Night Slash me again. So we're actually gonna CMP Tire. I have the opportunity to take out this Bronzong here with a Surf, but it is not worth it. I just let my Lantern go down, save the shield for Jirachi, throw a Doom Desire at this Bronzong, and now I might be able to farm down the Surfetch. These counters are going to do a lot though, so it will be close. Can we farm it down? I barely farm it down, and I get the reverse sweep against FPSticks. That win put me into the semi-finals, where I'll be facing off against C. Leonardo, an amazing battler from the UK, #1 on the Silver Arena leaderboards. But luckily, I do have quite a bit of an advantage here. I feel like my Grimer especially is an absolute monster versus team. Beats the Electrode, Hypno, Drifblim and Slurpuff. Is not too bad versus Heracross. So really only has to watch out for the Empoleon, and even there Grimer can put in work, as a crunch does quite a bit of damage. I also have some super hard counters to the Empoleon and Lantern and Machamp, so overall it's not an easy Pokemon for him to bring. My Drifblim also looks quite solid, as it is a pretty decent pivot, I feel like. Even if the Hisuian Electrode would come in, I can Icy Wind that, and would do a lot of damage. So my plan here is to just run Grimer every game, combine it with Drifblim and an Empoleon counter, and it should be looking pretty good. In game 1, I bring the Grimer in the lead, on the left side of the screen by the way, versus C. Leonardo's Hisuian Electrode, which is a super good matchup for Grimer. So Leonardo forces a switch out into the Heracross. I bring in Drifblim, which is a pretty good counter, but Heracross can definitely still make it quite close here with the Rock Blast. I've experienced this before in this season of ADL with my Drifblim versus Heracross. If they double shield Shadow Balls, sometimes they're able to get the 2 Rock Blasts to knock me out, or actually 4 Rock Blasts to knock me out and take both my shields. So not an ideal matchup. I still go for the Shadow Ball anyway. I feel like the bait is too risky, because if they no shield, they can just freely take a shield off of me, which I definitely don't want. So I just go straight Shadow Ball, hoping they no shield. Unfortunately, he shields twice. So I'm kind of scared now, but I think I switched fast enough this time to where if I shield this Rock Blast, I just get to this Icy Wind before he can get to another one, which I do right here. Icy Wind should knock out the Heracross. I'm kind of scared here though, because the Hisuian Electrode shields down is scary. If he farms you down with the Electrode here and can double Wild Charge my Grimer, that's scary. But luckily, he brings in the Empoleon to farm me down, and now this game is just incredibly easy for me, as I have Lantern to hardwall the Empoleon, I have Grimer to hardwall the Electrode, which I'm just gonna hit with the Crunch immediately, by the way. I'm not too sure about how much damage a Wild Charge does, so I thought I'll just get in the crunch damage right away, knowing that it will likely do enough to where I can farm down, which does seem to be the case. But I could have also just gone for Sludge Bomb right there, because as you could see, the Wild Charge actually didn't knock me out. But yeah, we took care of the Hisuian Electrode, And now Lantern can easily take care of the Empoleon as well, and I take the first game. This next game I bring a pretty stupid team with Machamp lead and Jirachi in the back. ABA weak to Drifblim. I just really wasn't expecting him to bring it, seeing as my previous team was super strong against the Drifblim with Lantern and Alolan Grimer, but Leonardo, I guess, read my mind and brings a Drifblim anyway. Since I have Jirachi in the back, I can't really switch out of there instantly, so I just stay in with Machamp, throw the cross shop to hopefully get a shield. I do take a shield. If you would have no shield that, that would have been awful. I bring in the Grimer just to take some energy here. He does decide to throw an Icy Wind before switching out into the Empoleon, which I'm gonna hit with a crunch right now. Should be able to get to 2 crunches. Normally 2 crunches are enough to knock out, but because I got debuffed, they won't be unless I get the debuff here. But unfortunately, I don't. Do reach another crunch though. This will put the Empoleon in range where I can knock it out with like a counter, which I will need to do. Actually this debuff is kind of stupid, honestly. I didn't want to debuff on the second one because I kind of want to get 2 counters in here instead of just 1, but because of that debuff, maybe not even because of that debuff, maybe I should have undercharged a little bit more and then I would have gotten 2 counters instead of 1. It might have actually changed the game. Let's see. Let's see. Anyway, out comes Slurpuff. I bring in Jirachi, get a bunch of energy. No clue how much a Doom Desire does. Also, this is some bad timing, but I just wanted to throw before the Icy Wind. Honestly, I should have just made sure I had better timing, though. Just do, like, one more Confusion. I think it would have been fine. Icy Wind comes out. And I'm gonna do something dumb here. I go for another Confusion, knowing that he got to the Shadow Ball on 2 more, so it'd either be an Icy Wind or like nothing before I threw my Doom Desire, but I should have just thrown my Doom Desire immediately, because then it would have killed. Yeah, it would have killed, I think. Maybe not, because there would have been 1 less Confusion. Still not over though, because if I can farm down the Drifblim with Machamp, I get to the Rock Slide and Slurpuff, but unfortunately, I just barely can't get to the Icy Wind, and Leonardo takes game 2. So, I think definitely a game I could have played better. Still, really close. This next game, I go for a safer line with Alolan Grimer in the lead and Drifblim and Lantern in the back, just like in game 1. I end up leading into a Heracross. Definitely not ideal for Alolan Grimer, but it's a pretty even matchup, so I can just stay in, shield the first move as I don't want to get one-shot by close combat, and then go for the Crunch Bait, which, unfortunately, he doesn't shield, but still, I should be able to farm down before I get to the next move here, so that's kind of fine. But still, shields down with Drifblim and Lantern in the back is not ideal, since a single Hisuian Electrode could sweep me here. Which is why I was really considering switching out of my Grimer at this point, but like if I switch Lantern, he's definitely gonna have an answer. If I switch Drifblim, the Empoleon just takes out my Drifblim, so I decide to just risk it, hope he doesn't have Hisuian Electrode, and that ends up being right because it is a Drifblim, and that's very good for my Lantern. Still, shields up. Drifblim is kind of scary for this, so luckily I get the bait. I am kind of not sure where to put my Drifblim as well. I don't think my Lantern is going to be able to do enough to take out both the Drift and the Empoleon, so I'm gonna have to put the Drifblim somewhere. And I'm thinking the best place to put it is probably against the Empoleon. If I bring it in against this Drifblim, they're just going to farm up to right before I get to the Shadow Ball and destroy me with their Shadow Ball. And it's basically going to be useless. Whereas if I just use it on the Empoleon, I should be able to survive 5 Waterfalls and a Hydro Cannon to get to my Shadow Ball. So that's what I'm doing right here. Took out the Drifblim with my Lantern. Then bring in the Drifblim, first their Empoleon. I have the Shadow Ball right now. I should survive this Hydro Cannon. I do, so I can go for the Shadow Ball, or so I thought, because we see CMP tie right there. This will take out my Drifblim. Now it's all up to Lantern. Can I get to the surf before he farms me down? It shouldn't be a problem, as I just spark him down anyway. This next game, I bring the Shadow Machamp because he always has to bring Empoleon, and I'm expecting Hisuian Electrode again, given that it was so strong versus my previous back line. And I do end up leading Machamp into Empoleon, which is amazing, so it brings in the Hypno, which I have an amazing response to with Grimer. So far, it's looking pretty good. But I'm still kind of worried about a potential Slurpuff or Drifblim in the back, which both, if played right, might be able to still sweep my line. That Crunch actually did knock out, and Leonardo decides to not throw his Thunder Punch or Fire Punch because he wants a farm on the Empoleon. That's kind of scary, but my Grimer actually survives 1 HP, and I get to the Crunch. This will knock out the Empoleon or take the shield. as it does knock out, and at this point, I've just won the game, because it is in the Serene Electric in the back. I could just bring him a champ, but aside, the safest way to play it is just to bring in my Drifblim, because he has to wild charge and debuff himself to knock me out, or take an Icy Wind. In this case, he takes the Icy Wind. He's just gonna concede this match, because he knows it's over. He lets me take out this Electrode, and I win versus Leonardo. And I'll be moving on to the finals, in which I'll be playing against Ilqm, an absolutely amazing player from the USA, ADL Season 5 champion, and a fellow Worlds 2023 participant. Going into this match, I wasn't feeling too confident about it because one, Ilqm is an amazing battler, and secondly, because his team just sucks for me. The Unova Stunfisk in particular is a pain in my bum, as it straight up beats Grimer, Drifblim, Jirachi, and Samurott, and my Champ and Lantern aren't too great against it either, especially as I'll be running Spark Lantern. I was really considering running Water Gun Lantern for a bit, just because it does better versus the Unova Stunfisk, but then the Gyarados would be trouble, especially since I was planning on relying on the Machamp a lot in this match, as it is like my second best Unova Stunfisk answer besides Water Gun Lantern. I felt like I needed to run Spark Lantern instead, just to have a very consistent Gyarados matchup in which I could just basically fully farm it down. I would still have to watch out for the Gourgeist though, which is absolutely insane versus my team as well. Beating the Machamp, Jirachi, Samurott, and Lantern, really only having Grimer as a hard counter and Drifblim as a soft check, so pretty much forced to bring Grimer every game for that, which then puts me at risk of getting countered by the Stunfisk because, you know, Grimer definitely doesn't want to see that. So I just kind of have to rely on a little bit of rock, paper, scissors here, I feel, which generally I'm unfortunately not too good at. Which you can see in this first game as I end up leading my Machamp into the worst possible answer on Ilqm's team, the Gourgeist. So I switch into Drifblim. I'm gonna go for my Icy Wind immediately, otherwise he reaches Shadow Ball before me and he's just free to switch out afterwards. I just really want to misalign the switch timers and get some damage on that pumpkin, so I can potentially Rock Slide it later to take it out. He switches into the Stunfisk after taking that move. Fine with me, as I can now unleash Icy Winds, and my Grimer will get to avoid the Unova Stunfisk, which is exactly my goal with this lineup. He actually lets me get to another Icy Wind, which is huge. This will put the Stunfisk low enough, but unfortunately, it doesn't die. This thing just won't die. Survives at 1 HP after 2 more hexes. So it's allowed me to bring in the Machamp. Only have to take one move and get one counter worth of energy for, well, what that's worth. In comes the Gourgeist. I really just want to stay in this matchup, build up to a cross shop, and then switch out. I think this is Seed Bomb, so let it go. It is. I wanted to do more counters to build up to the cross shop, but unfortunately he fires off the Seed Bomb, knocks out my Machamp. It's not worth shooting at that point. At this point, I just really want to like sweep with Grimer. Don't think that's possible. But a Gyarados comes in and I do have a win condition here. And that win condition is getting the crunch debuff here, which I do get. And this means I will likely be able to farm down the Gyarados with the poison jabs at this point. He knows that he won't get to 3 Aqua Tail, so he goes for the crunch, hoping for a debuff too. And he does get it as well. Can I farm down before the next move? I cannot. He gets to another crunch, which I am gonna have to shield up. Farm down the Gyarados. Can I farm down the Gourgeist as well? It isn't looking like that's possible, but I do get to 2 crunches. The first one gets a shield. Right there. And the second one should knock out the pumpkin. And that's how I came back from a pretty hard counter game. Honestly, kind of lucky, but we'll take those. Next game, I'll lead the Alolan Grimer, as it is quite safe versus Ilqm's team. Really only has to worry about the Unova Stunfisk, which I'm not expecting in the lead for him, as it's so safe. I think it's more likely he puts it in the back as a pivot, which he does seem to be doing here, as I lead my Grimer into the Gyarados. This is a pretty okay matchup. Pretty sure I win the 1s for sure. The 0s maybe. Just gonna take this first Aqua Tail. Doesn't do that much coming from regular Gyarados. Throw the crunch. Probably gonna get a shield here from the Gyarados. Right? Yeah, I do get a shield. They will get to a move before me. So I actually switch out into Samurott here. Because I'm running Samurott and Machamp in the back, both weak to Gourgeist, I kind of have to lure it out. And that's what Samurott is here for. And at this point, a Mega Horn should knock out as well. I actually go for the Mega Horn instead of Hydro Cannon, because Mega Horn does slightly more damage. I think Hydro Cannon wouldn't knock out yet, but Mega Horn might. So that's why I went for it. He actually throws the Aqua Tail on the CMP tie with Hydro Cannon. Absolutely insane counting from Ilqm there. Very well done. but luckily I did CMP tie, because that means I'll now be able to take out this Gyarados, hopefully. Nope, it doesn't knock out, but I Fury Cutter down before it gets the Dragon Breath down. That's huge, because now I have switch advantage. I can get my Machamp aligned to the Stunfisk. Still don't think this is over, though. I'm still feeling like there could be a Gourgeist in the back, and my Grimer is so low, it might be hard to deal with that thing. But as you can see, it's actually an Obstagoon, so Machamp is a huge threat at this point. If I can get rid of this Stunfisk with my Machamp, and if I at least have a little bit of health, I should be looking pretty good here. Throw some Mud Bomb, which I'm gonna shield. Needs 5 more Mud Shots for a next move. 1, 2, 3, actually 4. So I throw my Crush Up on 4 because he unfortunately didn't die, and he ends up catching that on the Obstagoon, which is absolutely insane. Obstagoon almost dies. I get 1 counter, Crush Up loaded, take out the Pancake, and I take game 2, which I was losing my mind right here, because I wasn't expecting to win any games against Ilqm, but now I'm 2-0 up, and I only have to win 2 more games to win this best of 7, because the grand finals is not a best of 5, by the way, it is a best of 7. This next game, I'm gonna run an incredibly risky line with Machamp, Lantern, and Grimer. It's honestly a stupid team, because if he leads Gourgeist, it's basically game over. If he leads Gyarados, it's gonna be super tough. And those are 2 leads he's kind of likely to bring. So why did I run this? Well, I'm 2 wins ahead, which means I can take more risks. And I feel like I also needed to take more risk. These first 2 games I played kind of safe, and I just barely scraped by. Honestly, I got a bit lucky in both. So I'm switching up the strategies. We're playing risky, and I'm just trying to hard counter him at this point. And I'm trying to hard counter the 3 Pokemon he's most likely to bring. Unova Stunfisk, Gyarados, and Gourgeist. So I bring the hardest answer to Unova Stunfisk, Machamp, the hardest answer to Gyarados, Lantern, and the hardest answer to Gourgeist, Grimer. And I figured if I play those 3 Pokemon in different orders the next 5 games, I can probably win 2 of those just by straight hard countering. I feel like the odds are in my favor, so that's what I'm doing. This time I'm leading Machamp, since I'm kind of expecting Unova and Stunfisk lead this time, but he actually leads Gyarados. Far from ideal, but Machamp does have play here though, as I can hit the Rock Slide. I don't end up doing that though. I switch into Lantern to catch an Aqua Tail here. Very nice catch, but yes, the Gourgeist switch hard counters me. If you're thinking about skipping it already because this matchup looks super RPS, don't, because it's gonna get super close. Like, you probably see the Stunfisk on the right and a Grimer on the left, and you're like, oh, this is over. Well, trust me, it's not yet. It's not yet. But first, we gotta get through this boring fish versus plant matchup. I'm gonna throw the Thunderbolt onto this Gourgeist right now, just to do some chip, so my Grimer can farm it down a little bit easier. He's gonna throw the Seed Bomb here, which will knock out my fish. Is Lantern a tuna, by the way? I heard someone say Lantern is a tuna. I couldn't find it on like Bulbapedia, but it could be. I mean, Lantern, tuna, sounds similar. This is what I was talking about. He doesn't let his Gourgeist get farmed down by my Grimer and switches into Stunfisk. Honestly, I think a bit of a misplay by Ilqm, because if he would have just gone on alignment, I feel like this would have been an easy win. But now that I have my Machamp on his Stunfisk, this is not looking too bad for me. As my Grimer, if I can take out this Stunfisk with Machamp, my Grimer should be able to farm down the Gourgeist and just one-shot the Gyarados with a Crunch as well. So we're not looking too bad here. Just gonna throw another Mud Bomb. I throw my next Cross Shop on the CMP. Unfortunately, this thing just doesn't die to freaking counters. It's stupid. I have to throw a Cross Shop right at the end there. In comes Gyarados now. I'm only 1 counter away from a Cross Shop with that, which I throw. He's gonna shield that up because he doesn't want to get farmed down by poison jabs. Honestly, good play. I throw my Crunch immediately into the Gyarados and he catches. I honestly was expecting this, but I didn't want to overfarm, as he was so close to the Aqua Tail, was just too risky. Very well played by Ilqm there, and because of that, he now wins this match. Honestly, I think he made it a little bit difficult for himself though, but he still pulled it off, so a nice game. Next game, I just go with the risky team again, this time at Lantern lead though, and I lead into the Gyarados. Absolutely amazing. In comes Unova and Stunfisk because they switched it in. I'll be able to get to my Surf right before they can get to the Mud Bomb, get some chip here, switch in my Machamp, and my Machamp should be able to take out the Unova and Stunfisk quite easily now. He's gonna go for the Mud Bomb. I wasn't too sure if a Cross Shot would knock out at this point, so I'm actually not even gonna throw it, because worst case scenario, I throw that Cross Shot, this thing survives at 1 HP, and then I have no energy, and I'm a shield down. But I will get switched, which is fine, of course, but I would prefer to go a shield down and then have like a bunch of energy to throw at the Gyarados coming in. He actually doesn't bring in the Gyarados though. Brings in the Gourgeist. Still not too bad though, as Rock Slides do really hurt her. Like, they do a ton. And I'm actually able to barely reach another one. He will have to use a shield here if he wants to keep the Gourgeist alive, which he does. Just gonna let my Machamp go down. I can get my Grimer in here. Gourgeist can't do anything. He brings in Gyarados again. Can't do anything versus my Lantern. This is game over at this point. I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit, as, you know, it takes a little bit. But just straight up hard countered, just like I strategized. I don't think he expects me to go ABA weak to Gourgeist again, so I just go for the exact same line with Lantern, Grimer, and Machamp, and lead my Lantern into his own Grimer. This is a pretty even matchup here. He goes for the Crunch immediately, which I'm gonna no-shield. Always no-shield the first Crunch, just in case they get the buff. Luckily, they don't. I'm just gonna go for the Surf. It gets no-shielded by the Grimer, and at this point, I really thought the next Surf would knock out, so I'm gonna throw a Surf right before I can get to her Crunch. And it actually doesn't knock out. And this is some amazing matchup knowledge by Ilqm. Knowing that his Grimer would survive at 1 HP to get to the Crunch. That's huge for him. Bad for me though, as I'm now a shield down, but I do have Switch. So my Grimer will be able to avoid the incoming Unova and Stunfisk. It's a Thundershock Unova and Stunfisk as well, so it's gonna have a harder time farming me down. But I think it should still be able to before I get to my third Surf. I don't know, it's gonna be real close. I think he farms me down, but I can't really switch out. Seems that Ilqm thought I was gonna get to another Surf though, so throws the Mud Bomb. That's huge for me, because now my Machamp should have no trouble taking this out, hopefully. He's gonna get to a Mud Bomb here. He has another one loaded. I have a Cross Shot loaded right now, so I'm just gonna no-shoot the first, then CMP tie on this move. Hopefully this takes out the Stunfisk. Does it? If it doesn't, this might be tough. It survives at 1 HP. Everything is just surviving at 1 HP. It's stupid. I'm a champ too, though. My Machamp survives. I bring in Grimer versus the Gyarados. This is a pretty fine matchup, but it's close. It's very, very close. I go for my Crunch immediately. He shields it up. No debuff, but that doesn't really matter. I'm gonna have to get to a move anyway. He throws the first move, and I'm actually gonna end up no-shielding this. It's honestly a stupid no-shield, but my thinking was, I know I survive Aqua Tail. I know he has 2. The only way I lose this is if he somehow got some extra Dragon Breath somehow. And somewhere, I mean. If he somehow got some extra Dragon Breath somewhere. And he crunches my Grimer. I shield that Crunch. My defense drops. And then the Aqua Tail knocks out before I can hit the Crunch. That's my thinking here. So that's why I no-shield the Aqua Tail. But as you can see, he wasn't even at the Crunch. It's honestly a stupid call, but ultimately, it doesn't really matter whether or not I shoot the first Aqua Tail or the second. So, yeah, because we're just gonna get to the Crunch here. Knock out the Gyarados. There's still a Stunfisk left, though. Can I farm it down? I do farm it down, and I win the best of 7 versus Ilqm. Very GG's to Ilqm and all my opponents this ADL season. I had some very exciting battles all season long, so thank you very much. And thank you very much to Arrohh, Kaiser, Endun, Polymers Up, and everyone else in the ADL crew for making this season happen. And thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.